This is a sweet life.
Sweet life.
Chief Johnson, Malik Rashid, sitting here with world renowned,
What?
Wow.
Run that back.
Wow.
world renowned,
Eric.
world renowned chef Nyesha Joyce Arrington.
Let's
Yes,
go.
sir.
We are here.
What's happening?
I feel like we just had a full-on episode before the cameras even rolled up.
Before
That's
they
when the
rolled up.
vibes are immaculate.
But that's great though. That's great.
Great.
Thank you for being here
My
with us.
pleasure.
We appreciate it. I know you train. You training for something, right?
I am. I have my first fitness competition coming up. Really
Okay.
excited about it. Lots
Okay.
of like barbell work and what do you call them? Pull-ups and assault bike, and it's a team challenge, and it's my first one, and I'm really excited. So
So not only can she cook, run up on her. You gonna find out.
Fuck around and find out.
No, again, thanks for having us. We have so much to talk about, but for me, I would love to start at the beginning. This is our first time meeting. I read a little bit about you. I never could trust about what's on Wikipedia and
For
those
sure.
things, but you kind of made it when you got a Wikipedia page. But
do I have one?
native Angelino,
Correct.
and you are, let me get this right, Black and Korean.
Correct. And a little Native American in there too.
Okay, so we got some of
okay.
that, you know what I'm saying? What was it like growing up in LA and the fusion of these cultures? I know a lot of Black and Korean kids because where I'm from, it was a military town.
Exactly.
And, I think the brothers went over there and they was like,
Big
yo,
facts. Exactly.
what's good? They was sending satin jackets back to everybody in the hood.
Wow.
But what was that like growing up? So you were from a military family?
Oh man.
The satin jacket.
Real, that was
Oh,
fire,
that
right?
was-
With the dragons on the
I
back.
was
Yes.
saying though,
Right?
right? We gotta bring
Yes.
those back.
Fire. Fire.
Oh man. Yeah. So that's exactly what happened. My grandfather, who was a cook in the Korean War,
Okay.
went to Korea, brought my grandmother back, and my grandfather, African American, met Miss Isoon, and I actually have a sauce inspired by her that I brought for you guys.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
And
okay.
so they had my mom, and my mom and dad met here in Los Angeles. And what else can I say? Yeah, I mean that's
Tell people. Let's. I don't want to skip past your father.
please.
So your father, if I'm not mistaken, right, was
Yeah.
in Brothers Johnston.
You guys did your homework. Yes, so my dad is a phenomenal slap bass player. I come from like on his side is like creatives. Like the guy has so much soul in his freaking thumb. Like I wish he hasn't pursued his music career yet. I feel like my dream for him is to retire this man and get him out there playing funk music. So he taught the Brothers Johnson actually how to play the bass.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. He was never kind of formally. He had a little band, not a little band. He might be like my little one.
My little band.
Yeah. He had a band called Phase back in the day, and he has this amazing photo of him with his bandmates in these like fire bell-bottom jeans with the big afro with the bass guitar, just too fire.
That's
Sick.
dope.
I know.
That's
Sick.
dope.
Yeah.
What part of LA did you grow up in?
So I was born at the Kaiser Hospital in West LA on Venice Boulevard.
Mm.
We moved to Gardena. Spent a lot of time in Gardena. And then basically kind of moved around a little bit. And then actually moved to a place called Lancaster, California.
Yep.
Do you guys know it?
My cousin lives out there.
Okay.
He's a professional stuntman.
What is in Lancaster? Just tell
It's
me
just
for real.
cheaper houses
Yeah,
and
exactly.
more room.
Exactly. When gangs started getting,
Yeah.
elevated in like, 80s around there, 80s, 90s, like 90s, my parents, they didn't want me to grow up in LA. So,
Okay.
and they wanted to buy a house. So they moved out to Lancaster, and I grew up in an amazing, had an amazing childhood and got to play outside and ride my
Yeah.
bike and stay out in the street till the street lights came on and went home, and that was
Yeah.
a thing, but I don't think my parents wanted that for me here in Los Angeles. But all my aunts lived here, and my dad's side's from Mississippi, actually.
Okay.
So all of that side of my family from Past Christian, Mississippi, and all my aunties were out here. So every Sunday, my mom would make us wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to Crenshaw Christian Center, and we would go to church every freaking Sunday growing
Wait,
up
from
from Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Yes,
It's like a real hour plus
I'm
drive.
saying it's about an hour, and like I just remember that as a kid, like crying, like not wanting to go, But looking back, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good, to instill values and morals and just discipline, right? So I think those little things they add up to a lot in your adult life. But we grew up in Lancaster. I moved out here to LA when I was 17
Okay.
officially.
Okay.
Went to culinary school in Santa Monica where I live now, and yeah, have had a quite the journey to date.
When did you identify cooking as the thing for you, like a real passion and a passion that you could potentially create what you have created, which is a burgeoning empire?
Wow.
That's a fair assessment?
I mean, one would like to think.
You have a restaurant in LAX at the Delta Terminal.
You
What
know
are
this
we talking
dude
about?
named Gordon Ramsay?
Yeah. I think the season finale is tonight.
It is.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
then,
sir.
with that said, go ahead.
I mean, it's just it feels almost, I'll say, taboo when you actually think about it, because it's like to dream and then actually actualize your dreams. It's like when you harness that power, it feels so freaking powerful. So it's
Mhm.
almost like this thing where it's like but it's cool. I believe in manifestation. I believe in action and executing a good plan, and that's what I did from a kid. And from, I would say, being in the kitchen with my grandmother and learning these new flavors and spices, and feeling like I was in a new world just by hanging out with my grandma. I think that was like the original steps in me kind of developing my palate
Okay.
at a young age. And then I always, like, when I think about those memories, they feel very like golden in my spirit. They're
Yeah.
just fond memories. And I think really throughout my adolescent stages, when I was a kid, I would like run home from school and always be in the kitchen. I would like have my friends over. I would play restaurant. I would like make little soups. I would like always with my little easy bake oven. I would just always be like doing things. And I have a very creative mind. So like food for me is sort of one conduit of expression. For me, I look at this plate and I look at it as a canvas, of creation, of storytelling, of celebrating Mother Nature. There's so many opportunities to connect with people, right? To nurture. And those are the things I'm good at, and I learned that as a kid, and I would say, really to answer your question, I think it was my parents. They put me in a lot of things when I was a kid, like art school or like karate. I did a lot of martial arts until I was about 17, and competed and did, I was heavy on that. I played sports, so I think I took something from all those disciplines and then did the thing that I was passionate about, and it just helped me sustain and have staying power. Because the restaurant business is not for the faint of heart. It's really hard,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's one of the toughest industries to be in.
Especially in Los Angeles. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
I remember a time you came from, being in the clubs and all of that kind of restaurants were closing right and left out
Right.
here. I remember like Memphis,
Right.
Lodge Steakhouse.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like them joints would be opening and closing like this. So
100%.
so to and that's I think we talked about this even before you walked in. Sustaining, and you talked about this prior to the cameras rolling, sustaining a restaurant in Los Angeles or just anywhere is tough, right?
Yes.
And you spoke about an experience that you had, last year, and then I want to, like, during the pandemic and all these different things, like how were you able to push through those challenging moments, those very when you're like, yo, I don't know if I can continue. Like,
Yeah.
this is happening. We had a pandemic, restaurants were shutting down. Like, how did you push through,
Yeah.
and How do you encourage other people to do those things?
Well, I'll answer that based on my personal experience.
Okay.
You know, you know, about 6 months before the pandemic, I closed my restaurant. And, there's a few things not working, but I would say ultimately it was a lot of years leading up to a lot of self actualization. And I think people in the entrepreneur space, people who have a growth mindset mentality, uh, they press go, and a lot of times they just don't look back, and do self inventory. And that for me was definitely where I was at, for sure. I was just like, look at the cutting board. 2001 I set out, and I didn't look up since. I was just grinding and grinding and grinding and not taking care of myself. And I think that was the year I was like, I want to be a better human and whole so that I can give from a healthy mindset, and that's when I fell in love with fitness. And, I think that's really where things started to shift for me internally, you know.
Okay.
And so, I think the restaurant business, it has this culture, which is starting to see this like rectification in it, but this culture, this underbelly of like, it's a nightlife kind of thing. It's like the cooks are getting off late. It's like, what do you do to wind down? You go have a cocktail. You're eating late. Like, what's available? Most likely fast food. You know, and your shift starts at 2, so you sleep in late. It's like this culture that you just sort of become accustomed to. And Anthony Bourdain, I think Kitchen Confidential, that book really articulates what it's like, to have that lifestyle. And I very much leaned into that kind of like surly, I am a cook, I'm a badass, like I play hard, I work hard mentality for a lot of years. Because you couldn't tell me nothing. Like when I was on the line, I like would show up, I would have the sharpest knife in the kitchen, and I approached being a line cook like a Jedi. Like I was like, I this is my force, and it's something that it was a very spiritual practice for me. And I, to this day, I just feel like I could walk in any kitchen, and they call me the ninja, like on some like TV shows and stuff, because like I feel it in my soul. I feel the kitchen, and like the way it moves, the way it sounds, like it's an articulation from within and outward onto a plate for a guest to enjoy. But I'm saying a lot, but what I really want to say is like, I think those days when I wanted to give up, it was like, it's very hard, when your dishwasher doesn't show up and you have to go in and tend to like wash dishes, or you have to do that, or you have to do this. But I think, in 2019, that's really where I started to see the biggest shift for me, and having that time during the pandemic. And I think a lot of people had a different approach to it. The restaurant business had an opportunity to change. Ultimately, there were a lot of gatekeepers in the restaurant business. There wasn't a lot of people of color being celebrated, different ethnic backgrounds of foods being celebrated. There was a lot of, the kitchens I came up in, fine dining European kitchens, being celebrated, right? And
Hmm.
saying this is the industry standard. I know that's what they told me when I was in culinary school. White tablecloth, fine dining, 3-star Michelin is the best. That's what you should work towards. And I was like, bet, that's what I'm gonna do. If that's what I'm gonna
If
be, the
that's the
first
bar.
everything. Like
Yeah.
I just was like, oh, there's not a lot of women. It's not a lot of women. Regardless of that, I just wanted to be the freaking best. Like
Yeah.
it's not even about color of my skin or my gender. I was like, I just have a performance mindset mentality. And so when I set out, I never really looked back, and 20 years of that can have certain fragmentation, certain trauma, certain things that you don't address, I think, when you're on that grind,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, if that makes sense.
No, a
Yeah.
thousand
Yeah.
percent. I think you talking about self inventory, and also too when you have that mindset where you're just go go
Yeah,
go, you become disconnected from yourself.
100%.
And a lot of it also too is where pride can kick in, and self-esteem, and all those things. And I can only
Absolutely.
imagine, like, with you with your restaurant, with you closing your restaurant, the amount of mental things that go on, the warfare that we go through in our own minds.
Absolutely.
And that's something we like to talk about on this show, because nobody is nobody is absolute from that. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like we all go through it, and I think learning how to navigate that and take inventory in yourself. Like I think Clinton Sparks, one of our last guests, said the greatest IP you can have is yourself.
mm.
And I think people think that's all about business, but your IP is how you look at yourself. It's your self awareness, your self esteem, your, you know,
The way you talk to
the way
yourself,
you, yeah,
the way you talk to yourself, right?
so that's important to hear. And I think those are the things that help people navigate, because behind the polished accomplishments, still you're still a human, right?
Still got to look
You
at yourself in the
still,
mirror every day.
yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
yeah.
And what does that self-talk look like? Even when people perceive you to be this, whatever it is. I think a lot of people who are in very high places have that, look at that, and it's an interesting conversation, and it's a very healthy one, I think, to have.
When you step onto the studio, like the television camera,
Yes.
right? Um, and you said you're very performance driven.
Yes.
Um, but there's also got to be a sense of there's got to be balance because you got to be playful. It's television,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So how are you learning to balance all of that?
That's a great question because I'm living it in real time.
Yeah.
This is my second year being on TV in that way. And I will say it's been an interesting study, and it has sped up my self inventory for sure, right? Because it's a dual kind of tandem walk. Like, are people receiving my message to be how I want it to be received,
Mm-hmm.
or are they perceiving me?
Through this
You
filter.
feel me? So it's interesting
Mm.
thing to be aware of, right, at all times. And so I think it has sped up my awareness overall, um, and my output, right? Because you have to like think about, you know, what your articulation is, and then do it in a small amount of time. It's like very in the moment.
yeah,
And so it's cool because I think I've done the things in micro sort of doses to have this macro effect. The team sports, the pressure kitchens, high pressure environments, all the things, the art, understanding, what my style of food is, seeing different formats of kitchens, sort of studying different archetypes of humans, and what resonates with me. What do I vibe with? Like, you know what I mean? Like all those things what is that sum, And so, and to honor that, right? And be that and don't deviate and feel comfortable in that is like freaking amazing, powerful. So I would say when I step out in those kitchens, I am being my best self. I feel so like I feel powerful in those moments because like
It's beautiful.
that is my shit.
you,
Uh,
you,
like in a kitchen, like I'm not saying I am the best on the planet, but I know that. Like you can't tell me I don't.
yeah,
So like, but I worked for that. And I knew that as a kid, from a kid. I would like run home from school to watch Food Network and watch all these, PBS programs and Essence of Emerald before Celebrity Chef was a thing. I just loved it. And because I think it's not just for the surface, it's for the value that it has that makes us human.
yeah,
you know like food, this grew up and was raised by, nutrients, right? It is a product of our land, our earth. So it's for me to be simply a conduit of that dialogue, right? Like where that tomato was grown, right? Like the recipes and the storytelling behind that, the culture, like
yeah.
that shit makes us human, especially in the digital age, right? It's that gateway into the past and it's a bridge into the future. And I think for me to be able to do that every day, like I'm so freaking grateful that I found my calling in life.
So being a part of, I guess, talking about I almost call it a renaissance of like culinary because it's so front facing now, and it used to
Very much
be
so.
a behind the scenes kind of thing. Um, and you've been on all the sides of you own restaurant, you've had a restaurant, now you're on television. And then there's also now, like with social media and all those things, do you think, has it hurt the industry
Great question.
at all? Or, I think there's a ton of positive things, but also I look at it as like music. When streaming came along, it's amazing technology to help people get music, but it also puts so much stuff out there to where it's like kind of waters down the art form of it. So I just wanted to kind of get your take on,
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with both sides of that. And I think with any art, like anything that comes from the like intangible that becomes something,
Mhm.
like it is an art, right? And I think not anybody could just do that. Like I guess that's subjective.
No, it's not.
You know what I mean?
No, it's not.
And so it's like,
No, it's not.
you know what I mean?
But I get it.
No, we're saying the same thing. It's like you cook a meal, I cook a meal. It's like, oh, they're both art, but like, are they?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but I think there's like the conversation is about like the craft, right? Like I think also, um, I think people having access to the public is what's interesting. It's like people can go on social media and say I am a chef, and
Hmm.
people are not going to tell you you're not, or they might they
Right.
might tell you you're not. But I think it's about different facets of celebrating food. Some people are business people and they say like I'm going to take this smash burger and I'm going to build this smash burger empire by X, Y, and Z, and build a machine, and they can multiply and scale that per 500 businesses, and other people are like I want to create the best blend, and like that's a facet, and I think you can split it up so many ways. There's a lot of opportunity for people to do a lot of things well. um the interesting thing, and I will say I myself am on the other side of this sort of like query now, is that in the past, so we'll call it like 2009ish, when I was like in this 3-star Michelin restaurant, and I was like, you couldn't tell me that like TV chefs and restaurant chefs were like two completely different people. And I never wanted to be labeled a TV chef, right? Because in my mind, that wasn't a thing at the time. Like it was like you were a TV chef or you were a chef or you were a real chef.
Hmm.
And I was it was a very personal thing to me, food. I was like, I never want it to be a gimmick.
Yeah.
I never want it to
I
be a
don't want to be
gimmick.
separated from the craft, from the
Absolutely. Are
real,
you kidding me?
the
No,
starch.
work too hard to
Yeah.
attain those skills, to
Yeah.
understand how different salts react to different proteins, or what, just from a molecular level. I worked hard for that information. And so, you couldn't tell me. And then, we brought up Gordon Ramsay, and he was the first person that I saw on TV that was doing both, that could put on that chef coat, and walk into any kitchen and throw down on the line and then kill it on TV and
Yeah.
have all the Michelin restaurants. I was like it can be done. And so it's cool. But so fast forward, right? There was sort of that, and I will remember the moment where I had that epiphany was when I was watching TV, and I saw this gentleman in a kitchen. Pardon me. I saw this commercial, and it was a watch commercial, and they were like really close up on the watch, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a watch commercial. They panned out, panned out, panned out, and there was a guy in a chef coat in a kitchen, and I was like, wow, it's a like it's a chef driven commercial about a watch. And I remember that was the first time I saw a chef like in mainstream. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was just interesting to me.
Being celebrated
You
in
know
that
what I
way.
mean? Yeah, exactly. As
Mhm.
opposed to just, like, I don't know, like a singer or like a actor, and it was interesting. And I remember that moment. And then, food TV, and then personalities, it started to really become this thing. Excuse me. And that term celebrity chef and all of that, and then Food Network, and so I think that's one era, right? Like 2000s, early 2000s, and then fast forward with digital and like social media. I think that's like the next 5 layer deep after that. So
Hmm.
it's like it's so interesting because I'm kind of one foot in old school. I saw the progression
Yeah.
where the recipe was like, you have your restaurant, you have your four walls, and people patron your business, you get it right up in the LA Times or New York Times, and that's a wrap. And that's
Yeah,
what a chef is.
yeah,
And now it's like has all excuse me, has had and now it has had all of these new sort of progressions,
yeah.
right? And so with social media, that's what's the interesting thing I like about the show Next Level Chef, where I'm a judge and mentor on, is it's the first of its kind where you see social media chefs, home chefs, right? And also professional chefs all cooking on the same playing field. And so I love the progressiveness in that, because I
Yeah,
think there's an opportunity to capitalize on where we are heading, because it's not like we're going to go back, you
yeah,
know? Um, and because before, like when I did Top Chef, it was just professional chefs only had the
okay,
opportunity to cook on TV,
yeah,
so it's interesting to see it. I think it's interesting. I think it's two different lanes. I don't know that it waters down the craft, but I do know that on the opposite side, old school chefs have had to change and adapt more than
yeah.
the other way around.
Yeah, I mean the importance of adaptation and also being able to, I'm not a pivot, but to be resilient enough to be like, okay, this is what it is. It's not going anywhere. Just talk about maybe some of your regimen or the frame of mind that you're in to be able to do those things. Because like you said, a foot in the old school, but then also they approach you and they're like, we want you to come on this show, and just being able to be open to those things. How do you navigate some of those things?
Yeah, well, I think for me, I always try to have an insatiable thirst for knowledge. No matter how much I think I know about a subject, if I learn it, I'm like, cool. Well, like, let's learn something new, right? Let's get into fitness. Let's do a competition. I don't know. I'm out here like I'm not nervous about it, but I'm gonna try. And I like a challenge,
Yeah,
And even if I don't, win or succeed, I'll try harder the next time. And I think that's when you say resilience. I think those things are so freaking important. And when I did my TEDx talk, I talked about that. I think that is a very valuable life recipe, right? I think it's grit. I think it's perseverance. I think it is resilience. Like all of those things, I think make up a robust life, and a life worth, attaining to greatness. I don't think like anyone's ever going to just be like, this is it. I've reached greatness. But attaining that on a consistent basis, always trying to strive, is what the journey is. So like I'm about that life. Like I'm about the journey, and I'm not afraid to create areas of opportunity for growth. I don't think it's like about failure, right? I think it's about areas of opportunity to growth and recognizing that. Say, I suck at that, or like I did not do well at that. I want to do it better next time. I think there's power in that shit, you
absolutely.
know?
Kobe said, Kobe Bryant said, "What is failure?" Like, he's like, "What is that?" He's like, it's just we're in a relentless pursuit of just trying,
Goatness.
Yeah,
but also
Absolutely.
just trying, right?
Absolutely.
Like just making the effort to thrive. Like that's
Absolutely.
all it is. It's effort to thrive, and yeah, I,
Absolutely.
I'm a fan. So we were introduced by a mutual friend. That's almost over a year ago,
Just about.
and we've been trying to talk, get her on the show, and be like, oh, I'm gonna be in Europe, and I gotta travel, and it's gonna be months, and I'm gonna be on the set here and there, and so I'm happy to finally get you on, but I also um again I want to celebrate you, and I because you come from, so doing this show, we've had the opportunity to sit with a couple of chefs, Matt Horn,
Yes.
Martin, you know,
Know them
Great
both.
luck.
yeah, Chef, Keith Corbin,
Yes.
you know,
Big fan.
so that's what I was gonna. Is there a community? Are you guys like sharing information, like how to navigate through some of the business? Because there's the experience for you guys is different. So I would think that like you guys would form community or want to form community to help each other, to empower each other to get to the next space.
Yeah. I think
Does that happen?
it happens on small levels. Excuse me.
Okay.
So I think community, it happens on sort of small groups, right? Like Matt and I went to, he was down here and we went to the Serving Spoon for breakfast, favorite spot. And we were
Mhm.
talking about the business, we were talking about entertainment because he's like, I'm getting into it, and we had an amazing conversation around that. So I think sharing knowledge is very valuable. And yeah, we absolutely, I think it's one of the more close knit communities of sharing knowledge for sure. Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
I had just a quick question when you brought up the TED Talk, TEDx
Hmm.
Talk. How long did they give you to prepare for that?
It was so stressful.
I was gonna.
So stressful.
I'm so
It was
curious.
so stressful. It wasn't stressful. I should say that. It was one of the first times that I feel like I truly stopped and like really took inventory. Like I cried like 3 times writing this dang TED Talk because the topic of conversation was reflection,
Mm.
and it was just so many powerful moments that like I haven't stopped and really thought about, and I was writing multiple drafts, creating a PowerPoint around it, thinking through my life, and then presenting it in front of thousands of people. Like, oh, it was very very challenging. So they gave me I want to say like 8 weeks to write it, and I think everyone has different time to do it. Um, and so I had basically 2 months, but that was already like kind of on top of my regularly scheduled
Yeah.
program. So it was like,
Yeah.
when I could, and then like randomly, like my cat like had to be rushed to the hospital, and I was like literally in the vet thing, like writing
Right.
it. Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it was an amazing experience for sure. I think,
Yeah.
and just like even with the writing the PowerPoint was hard. Like that was hardest, I think, for me, is like keeping my cadence of conversation and clicking the thing and having it all match up. It was like a lot to
And you got
manage,
to walk back and
and
forth and do
smile and
the.
do the things and not trip. I wore these heels, and like I was like out here on my boss lady shit, and
Yeah.
like it was cool. It was a very
Yeah, what
powerful
an
moment. It was
experience.
a great
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's to me, like that's like the Grammys of business. Like
Yeah.
you've made, like you got a TED Talk.
Yeah.
You've like,
Big
that's a
deal.
huge
Yeah.
accomplishment. We were talking earlier about your new spot
Yes.
in the new. I guess Delta built a fly wing at LAX. Finally, they done did something over there.
Sure did.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's a great conversation to have. So, being a native Angelino, I always want to celebrate LA cuisine, and so I called my restaurant Native, which originally was in Santa Monica, and it has reincarnated into the Delta terminal, and still get to celebrate that. You've been. He celebrated the decor, said how beautiful it was,
Yeah,
and
aesthetically fire.
yeah, and it really gives the LA vibe. And I think it's something cool to offer that you don't expect in an airport. That my operating partners are amazing. They're actually one of the only James Beard nominated operating partners out there,
Wow.
and they're out of Atlanta. Staff is happy. That's what I love to see the most. That is a reflection of what the guest receives. I think having a happy staff, and for me, it's my first venture like this, and it's been really cool. And I look at it kind of like, you know we have a captive audience. Like we're always going to have people that are traveling, so it's like it's a cool opportunity to create and have these sort of parameters, right? And I kind of look at it kind of related slash not related, when talking about creation and parameters. I had the opportunity to travel with Stevie Wonder, and it was like really cool to like take into consideration someone who doesn't see the food, right? And I had to really think about kind of these different ways to connect with someone, and it's like I like tasks like that where it's like, oh, I get this new blank canvas to create, and that's how I look at it, um, at this project, and it is freaking killing it. We've been there about almost 6 months now, and we're about to do a big menu change, and it's phenomenal. So I mean, a big shout out to them. This team holds it down. They're stoked. They bring their A game every day, and it's really beautiful.
So when you go through a menu change,
It's hard. It's a lot of layers. Like in a regular restaurant, we could be like, "Oh, we're going to the farmers market. We were inspired by this beautiful tangelo, and we're gonna run this amazing citrus salad with cured salmon, blah blah blah," and it'll be on the menu tonight. Like there, it's like you have to really go through. You have to get approval from the airport. You have to have the sourcing, all the coding. It's a long process. It's like months as opposed to that night. So a lot of different systems there.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's also storytelling. So you like have to be, I would assume, in a mindset to where you're like staying true to what you do, but also pushing the boundaries. Um,
Exactly. Like I don't want to go too far, but and have it be I want it to be approachable, but I also want it to tell the story and be on brand for the restaurant. When people come to Los Angeles, it's like come to this restaurant because this is as LA it's going to get here. You know what I mean? Like from a little bit of an elevated experience. You can have a beautiful craft cocktail, delicious smash burger, you can have amazing Korean fried chicken. Like it really tells the sort of terroir of
I
LA.
might need to
Shout out
just
to Grandma
Miss Isoon for
Miss
sure.
Isu.
Yeah.
might need to like just create a layover, like just to
Flying
eat. You know what I mean? Just
nowhere.
like let me get here 2 hours early to the
Yes.
airport. You know
Yes.
what I
We
mean?
love that.
That's amazing.
And
Absolutely.
get on the plane lit. You know what I mean?
Do you have
Facts.
do you get enough time to sit back and kind of like look at everything you've created and pat yourself on the back and just reflect on, being in the kitchen with grandma to now you're standing in front of your restaurant in LAX.
Come on.
No, I haven't. I
Think about where you cooking like has taken you
Yeah.
all over the
Yeah.
world. And
Stevie
again,
Wonder.
like Stevie Wonder.
The eighth wonder of the world.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I say this it feels weird because I love it so much. It feels like a guilty pleasure. It
Mm.
feels like I do this like for fun, like I love it. I love the craft of it. I love the business of it. I love that it makes me feel like a human being, and I love the joy that it brings other people. Like that's really why I cook. And then to be able to build this legacy off of it is a added bonus. So, I think the older I get, yes, I am trying to take more stock and inventories in more um, like a higher cadence of time as opposed to like take 20 years then stop down and be like what did we do again. No, it
Yeah.
happens a lot more quicker these days.
Hmm.
And I'm grateful. And I show gratitude as much as possible. I think it's definitely been a long uphill battle, and I'm pretty sure it probably will continue to be,
Absolutely.
for sure. But yeah, there are moments where I wish I could have told like 20-year-old Nyesha, like, everything that you're working towards will happen,
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay. I really do wish I could have gone in sometimes and been like, girl, like it is gonna be okay.
It's gonna whoop your ass, but
And
it's gonna be okay.
like back and forth. Shit. But like, gave her a little pat on the back and been like, it's gonna be cool. But and I don't know. And it's a day-to-day thing,
Yeah.
it's like,
What is you spoke about legacy. What is the legacy you want to leave behind?
yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful question. Like for me, one of the most important things for me is to like take care of my family, because my mom and dad, I grew up in a very blue collar, humble home. Looking back, I don't think my parents, they did the best they could, and I think looking back, I would have not known that we probably weren't that well off. You know, in all honesty, like thinking back, and like remembering going to the grocery store and being like, oh, we have $100 to spend on groceries. Like, I spent $100 on groceries for myself in a minute. But I know there's inflation now, but it's like for two kids and two parents and a dog and
What?
a cat, $100 a week. Like, I remember those days, like,
Yeah.
dang, and it's like looking back on those times, I'm like, wow, like you guys really did the best you could, and I would have never known. And so, I think today, one of my biggest goals is to try to take care of my parents because my mom you know, she had a stroke probably like, I don't know, 15 years ago or so. And ever since then, like my dad, he takes care of her hand and foot, like does everything and works full time still, you know, and it's like, it doesn't complain. You would never, like, he's just the type of guy that would just give an ant his last bite of food. And he has such a beautiful mind and such a universal perspective and a rational perspective on who we are on this one planet in our entire Milky Way galaxy. You know, and it's like, it's a beautiful thing and it puts things into perspective. And so, you know, for me, I just would love for my dad specifically, you know, I wanted to help my family as much as I can, but my dad specifically, like, he's never taken a vacation, never been on a flight. Like, just give him some joy, you
You
know?
want that for him.
I really need that for him, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my big legacy, I think,
Yeah.
for from that perspective. From like a culinary perspective, I would love to try to have more women in the kitchen because coming up, I was 99.9% the only one, and I never looked at that as a disadvantage. I just showed up as Nyesha, like I'm a badass cook, you know. But nowadays, I feel like if there's not opportunities given to other people, like how do we just change that narrative? You know, it's not about me climbing up that ladder, did all that work, and then just pull it up. You know, like I would love to try to nurture that soil more too.
Who's on your everybody's in the list now, right? Like
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore of this, whatever. For you, who's on your Mount Rushmore of cooking?
And Burger King's not an actual person, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. We've had such a flux in like the last 22 years. I've been cooking, yeah, 22 years now. I need to take a
It's
beat on
tough.
that. That
Who
is
would
I
you
tough.
got a
who
question
would
for
you
you.
want to share? Okay, so let's do this. Give me there's a dinner table,
Okay.
right? And you're cooking for 5 people.
Yes.
Who are the chefs that you want to help you prepare the meal for these 5 important people? And they
Wow.
can be dead or alive. So give me the 5 people,
Wow.
and then who are
Damn.
you?
That kitchen's about to be lit.
Okay,
Um.
let's
Wow.
give me the who's sitting at the table first. Who are we cooking for?
Okay. We are cooking for. What a question.
That's pretty dope. I mean, I give you that one. That's a good question.
Thanks.
Right. Right.
It's fire.
Very fire. Okay, so maybe I'll pick like one person from different
Do
genres. That'll
whatever,
help
but
me
five
narrow it
people.
down.
Yeah, film, whatever. It could be
Yeah.
your aunt, someone who's
Yep.
passed, and your.
Yep.
But
I'm gonna
let who
say
5 people.
from like the entertainment world, I love Issa Rae. I would love to cook for her.
Okay.
I'm gonna say from like the sports world, I'm gonna say Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
Um,
Issa and Kobe at the table. Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna say Barack Obama.
Okay.
Barry.
I'm gonna say Martha Stewart because she's like a legend.
Wow.
She's
Okay.
gangster.
She's dope.
She a
Okay.
gangster.
Yeah.
One more.
One more. And the bonus most amazing celebrated individual at the dinner table will be you.
Okay.
There you have it.
There we go.
Okay.
I get to sit at the table with Pam and Kobe. All right, cool.
And then in the kitchen, I gotta say Gordon Ramsay. I've always wanted to cook in the kitchen with him. He's like so amazing. Um, yeah, I would say Gordon Ramsay, Anthony Bourdain. I would say Edna Lewis. I would say
So if you're picking these people, what are they preparing? Because I see on the shows you guys are all preparing the dish. What are they preparing? Someone's preparing dessert. Someone's preparing the free. What? Who's preparing what?
well, Gordon would have to probably make the Wellington. He's very well known for that.
Okay.
I would do the fish course. I would have Miss Edna Lewis make the appetizer. I would have
Edna on the appetizer.
Edna on the apps. I would
Okay.
have. I need. What do I need? I need a dessert. I would have. I would have Alice Waters do the salad. She's amazing and has been such a pioneer for farm to table produce. And for dessert, I would have. I would have. I would have. This is a hard question.
No, come on. You got this.
There's so many names swirling my mind so quickly.
But you're being political. Just
It's
do
okay
it.
if it's
It don't
Sarah
matter.
Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I being political? I'm being too.
Yeah, just who do you want?
I would make Martha get up from the table and help us with dessert.
Martha.
There you
it
go.
is.
There it is.
There it is.
That's
That's
the dinner.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I have
That's
one more
beautiful.
question. Is it hard for you to go eat at restaurants? Are you like dissecting the food? Like, oh, can you tell the chef I need another pinch of salt? I need it. Is it difficult?
Well, I want to say also I would have my parents at the table. That's very important. No, it's not. I really enjoy when people cook for me because it never happens. I love to eat. I'm like a big on dining out, which is why I think partially I became a chef because I really love to dine. I like love to go to restaurants. Um, I don't actually like critique food very harshly. I notice things, but I it's like I just like see it for what it is, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then do you
So-
have a couple like go-to restaurants?
Yeah, I want to hear this because I'm gonna tell you mine.
Okay.
All right, but let's go with you
well,
first.
I'm a big fan of serving spoon for breakfast. That's like my
Yeah.
go-to spot. I always said in Canada.
Inglewood.
Oh, it's my
Inglewood.
favorite.
Come on, man.
I mean, I just feel like every time I go there, like it's a vibe.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm on Saturday morning. Like
You got to go on Saturday morning.
you know what I mean?
You need the parking lot.
100%.
You need the whole parking lot
100%.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. you
Savory
need all of that.
grits.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
I would say Parks Barbecues, my favorite Korean barbecue place.
Where's this again?
In
Parks?
K-Town.
In
Okay.
K-Town.
Yeah,
Parks
Parks.
Barbecue. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
big fan.
Yeah.
Got a little photo of me on the wall there.
Talk to him, Nyesha. Talk to him, Nyesha.
So yeah, we got breakfast, we got Korean barbecue. I would say there's this really dope restaurant in Santa Monica called Heavy Handed. I'm a big like smash burger girl. I already said that multiple times, but their burgers are fire. So
Heavy-handed?
heavy handed. I stay there.
I love
In
burgers.
Santa Monica.
I highly recommend.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
Heavy hand.
They're
You
killing
getting these?
it.
You getting these?
Okay.
It's a short rib burger.
He gonna be like, "Hey, baby, we going to heavy handed
Yeah,
tonight."
yeah, you take them like they grind the meat there. It's super bomb. What else? Yeah, I would say there's this amazing Mexican restaurant called Gilbert's in my neighborhood. I hit them up quite often.
Okay.
Really delicious.
Okay.
Now, are you
And
anti fast food?
so my first job ever was Taco Bell,
Okay.
and it was game over from there. I was like, I need to live and work on the line. I started out as a cashier, and I would always watch the cooks, and I was like, I need to get over there. And
To the soy
and
tacos.
I never left, and I
Okay.
never left. But no, I'm not anti fast food. Yeah, I love In-N-Out, Taco Bell. Those are my favorites.
Same.
Yeah, yeah,
Taco Bell's the one. If
Yeah.
you gotta eat like
Yeah. For sure.
you know
Some
what I
crimey.
mean? Yeah.
Okay.
What you
okay.
got?
Oh, restaurants?
Yeah.
Ooh, LA for me. We're just dealing with LA?
Yes. Musso and Frank's is pretty bomb too.
Giorgio Baldi.
Okay,
The one on Channel Road.
of course.
Not, because there was E Baldi. Remember?
I don't. I've only been
okay.
to that one.
So there was E Baldi, which was actually in Beverly Hills.
Okay.
But Giorgio Baldi, same family, Channel Road. I need to be in the back room. They got a little side room, straight up. I'm telling the
It's
truth.
fancy though.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's just I like a vibe.
Yeah.
I like atmosphere.
For sure.
You get to bring your own music in there, vibe out, drink wine. It's like 7 or 8 of y'all. Y'all just chill. So I like that's
Respect.
I like that. I like so Capo,
Okay. In Santa Monica. Yep, it's beautiful. Pretty high end.
Rustic Fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love Capo.
Yeah.
Capo's fire. If I'm doing brunch on Sundays, I'm going to Jelena.
Gotta
Just
do it.
rooftop Jelena.
So fire.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Um,
Jelena's bomb.
and I like you, seriously, love been going to the serving spoon forever.
Serving spoon
Like the
always
salmon
hits.
croquettes. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you got the salmon croquettes and the cheese eggs.
They do
and
it right.
Yeah, they do it right. I like that spot.
Legit.
And then last thing, let me see. So Georgia Boy, Capo. Um Probably, you know what I haven't found yet? Like I haven't no, you know what I love? Seafood Cove.
Okay.
It's in it's in Garden Grove.
Cool.
And it's a Asian seafood restaurant.
Dope.
Love it.
Dope.
Love it. Love Asian seafood. That's my shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my joints.
Dope.
What's up?
Nice,
So,
nice.
because you was hating on me
No,
first.
I just knew you was going. You eat like you know.
Like to eat.
I know. You fancy. You fancy.
Nah.
So what's the next year look like for you? I don't want to go too far ahead. I know you building
Yeah.
an empire, but you know what are some things that you got in the pipeline? And
Yeah. Yeah. So, one thing that has been a constant sort of current in my life is travel. I'm a big proponent of that. I always travel to different parts of the world and I take like a technique or an ingredient and get inspired from it and then add it to my repertoire. Like that is my identity. Like I consider myself a worldly citizen. And so and by chance when I closed my restaurant 2 weeks later I got a call to come to Belize, and that started it all. And I went there and learned about the people and taught, and we filmed it all and shot this amazing. It's called Through the Eyes of an Explorer, and we went to 4 different islands in Belize and just like cooked with the Garifuna people and learned from these Menotech and just learned a lot about the culture of Belize. And then went to many other places: Jamaica, Morocco, um, Hong Kong, doing this right. So a couple of those dinners. So this year I'll be doing Greece. I'll be doing Hong Kong again. I'm doing a dinner.
We're in Greece, Mykonos.
I'm not 100% sure yet, but we're talking through the deets now. But it's looking like Greece later this year, and those are the 2 places that I'm gonna hit up. Jamaica I did late last year was a vibe. Like definitely need to put that back into rotation because
run that back.
like for real that was like it was a life-changing trip. It was
Amazing.
Really?
yes, it was just some dinners like they just have this like je ne sais quoi about them, like where it just hits like because I think there's this like beautiful energy, right? That you like try to capture and then put it on a plate for someone to enjoy and then have it resonate in their soul. And like that happened. Like I think I brought enough of like Cali vibes in the menu. I brought enough of celebrating the terroir of Jamaica. And I also pushed the envelope in a progressive way to get the local people to eat outside of their comfort zone, but also appease to like the expat people and where it felt like elevated enough. Like it just hit on so many levels. And I was proud of the menu. And it was just the team that helped me with it was just all around a vibe, it just one of those nights where everyone was just so joyful at the end of it, you know. Yeah.
Look at how she glows when she's
Yeah.
talking about it. That's
Great,
beautiful.
I gotta get back there.
That's beautiful. You said you were a football girl.
I love football. I used to throw the football around with my dad as a kid, and I love sports in general. Like I'll play any sport. Um, but yeah, I'm a big Rams fan. I've been to many games. I hope to go to a lot of football games this season for sure. I love baseball, so I grew up playing softball.
Okay.
Yep, been to a bunch of Dodger games. Yeah,
You-
I haven't played pickleball yet. I guess that's like all the rage now.
My cousin
Cool.
is heavy on the pickleball. The one that
Really?
lives in Lancaster.
Really?
He's
It's
a
a thing.
professional stuntman, and he's like pickleball change. Like, every day he get up, he play twice a day.
People love pickleball.
Yo,
I need
for
to get
real,
on
for
it.
real.
Like all of these new sports, what's the thing? Throwing the bean bag.
Oh, bags like a
It's not a sport.
No, but what is it called?
Like cornhole.
cornhole. Yeah,
Cornhole,
I'm really.
pickleball, and curling. It's all the
I
same
think
to
people
me.
like pickleball because it's tennis and ping pong, but the court is short. So as you get older, tennis is such a hard and active sport.
So they shorten
So
up
they
the court.
shorten it, and it's it's still an activity, but it's not as rigorous. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah, that's why my dad was saying he could play. My dad the other day he was like, "I think I'm gonna play pickleball."
yeah.
Like if
Go
you
on.
don't sit down somewhere, blow out a
Man,
knee,
let that man live.
hip,
Let him live.
yeah, his hip get blown out. I gotta go. I gotta go be in Atlanta for a long
Blew my hip out playing
time.
pickleball.
Whole hip
Oh man,
replacement
I'm
because
telling
he want to
you.
go be active.
Crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
Listen, it's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh man, my pleasure. I could sit around and chat with you guys all day. This is
Same.
We're
beautiful.
gonna do it again.
But
Run it back.
we gotta get you. I mean, I know nobody cooks for you, and I hate to add on to the
Yeah.
nobody cooks for you, but I need to add on to.
However,
maybe we could do another one. I know it'd probably be crazy clearance, but to be able to go and do something at your spot
yeah,
in LAX would be
definitely.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then have some people come over and chill with us and
totally.
cook and eat and
We
talk.
gotta call up Martha, Barack, all these guys. Get them over here at the dinner
See,
table.
well, we try to get somebody from the Rams, try to get like Mookie Betts from the Dodgers.
Let's do that.
No,
You
we're
know,
gonna
do like
manifest this.
100%. It's out there now.
Let's
kinda cool.
manifest it.
Before we get out of here, where can people check you out and just continue to follow the journey and continue to be inspired? I'm inspired.
Tonight on
Yeah.
Fox.
Well, there's that. There's a whole 2-hour season finale on Fox.
Can you tell them the show for those who just don't know?
100%. So I'm a chef and mentor on, chef, judge, and mentor on a show called Next Level Chef. And the show is based on the premise and the idea that I basically get to coach, these hopefuls to win a 1-year mentorship from myself, Gordon Ramsay, and Richard Blaze, plus $250,000 to fuel their culinary dreams. I know. And the title of Next Level Chef. So it's like, literally, when they called to ask me to do this show, like, I was like, this is like the best of all the worlds, because it's not me actually competing for it, but I get to be adjacent and I know exactly how it feels to be you.
Yeah.
And I can help you steer your train back on the tracks when it's like you're trying to do so many things at one time. I get it. I feel it. I understand it. But I get to be in the kitchen kind of helping everyone. So it's really cool. And I see them grow over the course of 15 episodes, right? From when they walk in a day one to when that person walks out as the next level chef. They go through a gauntlet, and it is hard. It is very hard. And so that show, the finale is tonight.
There we go.
Yeah, really exciting. So there's that. I'm also on Instagram, first name Nyesha, and my middle name Joyce, Nyesha Joyce, and same handle at Twitter. Those are like the main things.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
Websites,
go.
all
You're
it's all
not
out there.
making omelets on the TikTok.
I'm trying. I need to up my TikTok game. I really do.
You're too busy. You need to just find somebody to run it
Yeah,
for you.
exactly.
But
Facts.
thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For sitting with us. Nothing but blessings, and we're excited to continue to watch you
Thank you.
grow and build that legacy.
Thank
We're gonna
you.
get Dad on a flight somewhere.
Yeah, that's the goal. It's gonna happen for sure.
And then we're gonna have dinner, me, Chief, you, and Gordon.
Sounds
That's
good.
what we need to do. You know what I mean? Bring a couple
Sounds good.
cigars.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Sounds good.
I want to have dinner with Gordon Ramsay.
I love that too.
He's
and
amazing.
Her, yeah.
I'll cook for all three of you guys.
Let's do it. Sign off. Listen. No, you sign off.
You sign up.
Let's sign off. Yo, this is Malik Rashid, Chief Johnson, Nyesha Joyce Arrington, and this has been A Sweet Life.